And we are live. Welcome to episode 7 of the Razorburn podcast. My name is Jack. I'm here all the time, as is Heather to my left. We are joined today by Kerry Burrows of Phoenix and Beau, an artisan based out of the United Kingdom. Introduce yourself, Kerry.
Yeah, hello. My name's Kerry. I am one of the owners of Phoenix and Beau. My wife is the other owner. We're based in Hitchin, Hertfordshire, in England, where it is currently raining.
Of course it is. That's the caveat, isn't it? It's raining.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always raining, but it's very green and lush
I noticed
and
actually you sent me a
and very verdant.
you
Yeah,
sent me a photo earlier of the landscape. I miss trees a lot.
yeah. Trees are great, and so is the greenery. It's yeah, it's good. So yeah, thanks for having me both.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so the way we start these, Heather typically prepares questions which we call icebreakers. They are a series of questions that they're very light-hearted, or at least they're intended to be.
Yeah,
She asks you questions and you give her answers. So take off.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So these are just really quick questions. They're just for fun. Just kind of break, the beginning of an episode, but basically.
Sure.
So my number one always first question is ice cream, chocolate or vanilla?
Oh, that is chocolate.
Chocolate. That's a
Yeah,
good answer.
yeah. Who likes vanilla ice
I
cream?
do. I like vanilla
Oh,
ice cream.
Jack, you've got no imagination, mate.
Yeah.
I like a really good vanilla, but unless you're making it yourself, you don't find a really good vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
So that's the caveat with that. Okay. Would you rather be short and physically fit or tall and overweight?
Well, that is a tricky question. Health is everything, so I'd rather be short and physically fit. What defines
I
short though? How short is short?
say 4 foot.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
four
really short.
foot. That's ridiculous. Um,
Let's say 5. We'll say
Well,
5
what's
foot.
really tall though? What do you define as really tall?
I don't know. Say 6 foot or
That's
above.
not that tall. Like that's fairly normal.
yeah, my answer stands. Health first.
Okay.
Oh, good answer. And you
Yeah,
actually look like you're maybe a tall person too. You're
I'm 6 foot.
on the
So
taller side.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I agree. I mean, I've been like super chunky before, and nobody wants to be overweight. Um, would you rather would you rather have one wish today or 3 wishes in 10 years?
Ooh,
Hmm.
head scratches.
Uh, w- yeah, one wish today because I
One.
might not be here in 10 years.
That's a great answer.
Oh,
Hey,
yep,
deep, huh?
that is a good answer.
Uh,
Absolutely.
and
Um,
can I just before you carry on, Heather? Sorry to interrupt you. Can I just apologise for my ridiculous haircut? Because of the pandemic, we don't have access to barbers, and
right.
my wife hasn't shown much interest in cutting my hair for me. So I have this ridiculous box head hairstyle, which isn't my normal haircut. So I just thought I'd cover that off to begin with. Okay.
Well, my hair is currently 3 colors. Normally it's two. And because I'm like 3 or 4 weeks past my coloring date, the gray is showing. So I have this like big band of gray going across. So I feel you.
Yeah, gray's good, right? Gray's good.
Yeah, but men can pull it off and look distinguished to where, not, women mostly don't. It's not fair.
Good, good.
Okay. Would you rather go to jail for 1 year or be homeless for 1 year?
Oh,
Um, Homeless. I used to. Sorry,
Homeless.
can I just pause there for 1 second because my 5-year-old is at the door calling my name out. So
Sure.
sorry if I just need to pause there. So back in 2 ticks.
absolutely. So my answer to that question is I would rather be in jail.
I
Would you
know,
rather
it's
be in
hard.
jail? Because the way I think about it, you don't know what happens if you're homeless. At least if you're in jail, you have shelter, you have food, but it sucks. I would much prefer to
Yes.
be kind of under shelter or have like some sort of security, I guess. Although it's a bit too much security. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's a hard question. I think being homeless would be humbling, maybe to some
Yeah.
degree, where being in jail definitely, I don't know. I think maybe there's an indignity to it, to some
Yeah.
degree because of like your loss of self, in the population. I think that's hard, but I think homeless definitely, the only good outcome to that at the end of it would definitely be it would be a humbling experience and make you appreciate, what you have and, what you can do for others
Yeah.
too. Okay, would you rather have no sense of smell or have hyper smell?
Oh.
Mm. Mm. Would I be able to taste still,
Um, I don't
or
know. It
or, or,
doesn't.
or is it just a yes or no? Right. Okay. The latter.
Yeah.
Hyper smell.
Hyper smell, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a hard one because whenever I was pregnant, I was like everything like made me nauseous. So if with hyper smell, that's what I keep thinking of is like how bad would I be nauseous from scents all the time?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. I don't know. I couldn't go through life not being able to smell. Rain after dry periods, and flowers and nature and all of those good things.
Food.
So yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Food
Food. Yeah.
for sure.
Beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, as sort of a leeway into our next topic, so when you develop, are you the one who develops the scents like for your products?
Yes. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it would kind of also, ruin that, I guess.
What's
Yeah.
your favorite scent
Absolutely.
you've
Yeah.
made out of interest?
Oh, crikey. These are all really hard questions. Um, I'm a real sucker for woodsy
Yeah.
scents, and I have to work very hard to not release another woodsy scent because I just love them so much. Um, so I think obsidian is probably my most favorite.
Okay. Followed by.
Yeah. Ooh, crikey.
Is it going to be another woodsy scent?
It could well be. No, I'll try and deviate from that. Um, Citra Royale.
Yeah, that's a lovely scent. That's the lime-based
Yeah,
scent, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. To me, it smells like. Do you remember opal fruits,
Yeah, I do.
or that you might know them as
Yes.
Starburst sweets? Yeah, it just reminds me of them. I love it.
Lovely. Yeah. I
But,
remember those. So,
but we've stopped it. We stopped it because it wasn't doing well enough. So
really?
yeah, which is a
It's
real, yeah,
citrus.
it was a real shame. I know. Yeah, it might come back. We might give it another go in Sovereign, but we'll see. We'll see how we
Let's
go.
hope it does. Kind of transitioning here. So our first topic and something that I very much relate to Phoenix and Beau, so I think this is relevant. Um,
Mm.
I'm going to caveat this by saying I think you guys are ahead of the game when it comes to label design. As far as I'm aware, that's your wife, isn't it, Sarah?
It is, yeah, it's entirely Sarah. Well, firstly, thank you, and secondly, yeah, Sarah executes everything. We discuss the ideas together. Um, kind of a lot of the concepts start with me, and then she takes them and just runs with them, and goes through various iterations of the designs, and then she'll ping them back to me, and I'll give my feedback, and we just work like that. We just bounce off each
I
other.
like that. That sounds like a good
Yeah.
collaborative relationship because
Mm.
as the guy that's coming up with the scent, having an idea of what is on the front of that tub is also very important, and it sounds like you have
Yeah.
at least some input with how they end up.
Yeah, yeah, I do. And quite often, a lot of the designs start off inspired by natural images, the landscapes or music, or science fiction or literature type concepts. So it's my favorite part of the job is starting off the design
Yeah,
process, and picturing what the label is going to look like and how it threads in with the scent. So yeah, I love it.
you've done
It's
some
really
very
cool.
unique ones. The one I think of is Palmal, Palmal, the Medusa's
Yeah.
head, like the Gorg's
Oh
head.
yeah.
That's such a cool label design.
Yeah, I love that design, and again, I just don't think it was. We stopped it because it wasn't. I don't think the scent was powerful enough, you know. So we might boost that in due course and bring that back because I just thought the design was epic because it was, you know, the Greek goddess Athena and her aegis and the owl as the symbol, and you know, the statue of Athena sits outside the what's the name of the club in on Pall Mall. I forget what it's called right now, but yeah, there's a story behind all of them, and yeah, we really enjoyed that one.
It's funny because kind of talking from the basis of packaging and kind of label design, what what are the determining factors for you deciding on how a label looks? Because I think you guys are quite unique in that regard because more often than not, and correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, but the way most artisans would approach labels is they're almost an afterthought. The scent and obviously the product in itself is one thing, but you guys put a lot of thought into the labels. I have several of your soaps, and
Mm.
I can tell that it's not just a quick process to come up with how the front of that tub looks.
Yeah, no, it's not. And our design process, everything starts with the name. That's our starting point,
Okay.
and then it flows from there. You know, so the name will inform the design, and then it will flow into the scent. Scent comes last, and that's our process. It's fairly straightforward, but it all starts with the name.
That's really unique.
Do you think
Yeah.
so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's some artisans who probably do just kind of throw something on the label. I'm a little bit opposite because I have a standardized look versus, I get kind of jealous of people that have the fun labels, every release. But I wanted to go with more of a standardized look. So when I do a limited release, then I get to, do something fun.
Yeah.
But I get label envy big time. And your Imperial, I think it's the Imperial rum.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I love
yeah.
that one. It's like
Thank
one of
you.
my favorite labels. That and like Noble Otter does really, great label work.
Yeah,
So
they're really cool.
yeah, I think there's some who, really value that part of it, or they're creative enough to really like put a significant amount of like time into like the design or the concept of the design, even for someone else to do. But there's definitely people who stand out, such as yourself, and your labels are absolutely, they're very eye catching, and we definitely, always, it's just like eating, right? Like everybody, like that, the first look is what attracts you to a product at first glance, at least. So
Oh,
um
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm just really lucky, Heather, to have my missus on the team because if I didn't have Sarah, our designs would be probably executed on Microsoft Paint by me. Yeah. And that would be that would be the end of it. So yeah, I really lucked out to have her you know, designing all of the labels, and she's an absolute Jedi. Watching her work, and yeah, she's just awesome. But you know, you mentioned about how you standardize your images. That's how we started all of our labels. Even though I had kind of Sarah there and her talent, we chose to go that route also. We had a very standardized label and format, and then for the limiteds, we kind of specialized a bit more. But then we felt that, like you mentioned, you know, in nature, we we shop with our eyes. You know, when we're out in the natural environment, you're drawn to, you know, flowers and attractive looking things, and it's exactly the same thing in a supermarket. You know, you shop with your eyes. Oh, what's that colourful, pretty thing over there on the shelf? You know, and you're drawn to it. And we kind of felt that we wanted to go down that route with our labels, and for them to be our USP, really. You know, because there are a lot of amazing soaps out there. You know, and you know, but I think that point of difference in design, if you can leverage it, then why not?
That is a very valid point, actually. I was in Pastor's Pharmacy a few months ago, and you guys are kind of tucked pretty high up. I still noticed
Yeah,
your labels. Your labels are like you said previously. You know, now none of them are standardized, and because of that,
mm,
every single one of your soaps almost has a meaning behind that label. Like more
mm, mm,
recently, when I think of that, I think of Achilles' Last Stand, right? It has the
Mm.
Achilles
Yeah.
character with the wild
Yeah.
psychedelic colors, but that has its
Oh
own
yeah.
story behind it. It's very quite unique, and it's thought provoking as well, because once you
Mm.
hear those stories, the thing that's unique to me is
Yeah.
when I'm shaving with it, I'm like, I can really see what they were going for here. Like it's this,
Mm. Mm.
it's really cool, and it's definitely USP of Phoenix and Beau for sure.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, so just looking, I've just got in front of me our limiteds for this year, and just the names. We haven't even started with the artwork, but the names are Atmosphere, Mars Volta, Helden, and Empress Rising. And we have ideas around how we want them to
So
evolve.
badass.
But yeah, Empress Rising is a tune by a Swedish death metal band um, called Monolord. It's very dark
Yeah.
and heavy, right? But it's awesome. And we're kind of maybe thinking that we might go down like a Japanesey route there for Empress
What
Rising,
inspires you
artwork
for that?
wise.
Oh.
Like, what makes you think of this is the name I want to use? Because
I
that's
just
so off the left
just
field.
my
That's
imagination.
crazy.
Yeah.
So, you were saying Empress Rising. There's some pretty crazy names. Like, what are the inspirations behind the names?
All of the names really start off just. I'll just be inspired by some music. So, for example, Empress Rising is the name of a song by a Swedish death metal group called Monolord. It's about 11 minutes long. It's crazy, and it's really it's quite dark and moody, but I like it once in a while when I'm feeling that sort of mood. So that's where that came from. We're thinking maybe Empress Rising will be slightly Japanese orientated and give Sarah the opportunity to do Japanese orientated artwork. Helden is the German word for
Yeah.
heroes, and it's also the David Bowie song, which we love. So yeah, that is the brief story behind Helden. I've been wanting to do it for a long time now. Mars Volta are a name of a North American prog
I
rock
know of
band.
Mars Volta. That's my sort of music.
Yeah, they're awesome. The Mars Volta. And Atmosphere is a name is a single which was released by the Joy Division back in the 1980s. And I don't know if you can see what T-shirt
Yeah,
I'm wearing.
I
It
can see
is
it.
yeah, yeah. So I'm a big Joy Division fan, and I wanted to just release a soap dedicated to them.
So talk me through that again. So you come up with the name. So you've got the name now. What ends up happening following that is you'll then sort out the artwork. So Sarah will kind of come together with that, and then you compose the scents.
Yeah, yeah. They are the three steps. It always starts with the name, and then artwork, and just the concept and ideas kind of start to piece together from there. And then depending on what the label looks like, what colors are in the label, that then informs the scent.
That's really cool.
Oh,
Mm.
interesting. So you do it backwards then, because I think most people, I'm sure there's some exceptions, but I feel like most artisans probably start with a scent concept and then make the artwork or the
Mm.
label, to go with the scent or the idea that they have. I wonder how many artisans, I feel like it's opposite than most. That's interesting.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. That's just how we've always done it, really. Apart from when we first started out, it was right. Okay, we need to provide, woodsy, citrus, smoky, and then I played with the scents, and then it was like, well, this smells like Spitfire. Right, okay, let's. No, in fact, that's a lie. Spitfire always started off with the RAF Roundel, but typically that was how we started out. The other way, Heather, but it's since reversed in recent years.
Spitfire's the
I
really
see.
leather forward scent, isn't it?
Yeah, Spitfire is very leather,
Yeah.
smoky, heavy. It does have cedarwood and bergamot and juniper in it also, but it's a bit of a you either love it or hate it kind of scent is what I've found. But it's our best-selling soap
Really?
twice over. Yeah,
I
twice
think the
over
same.
compared to our.
It's weird because
I
you mentioned Citra Royale there. I think that was easily your best-selling soap. It's citrus. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I think because Spitfire is a core soap, and also I think the imagery just resonates with our customers. You know, it's that sort of archetypal British.
Yeah.
You know, it's the RAF roundel. You have the silhouette of the Spitfire aircraft. It perhaps conjures images of, you know, wartime period and just resonates with people. So I'm guessing, you know, but that's kind of, if I had to guess, that's where I'd be. It's certainly what it does in me, you know.
We'll actually get into more of the differences in terms of like the different regional differences based on the wet shaving industry a bit later in the episode. Something I'd like to move on to is something I've spoken to you about fairly recently, Kerry, and it's the approach to packaging. There's lots of ways packaging is done. You know, more recently, I think people have definitely taken to the idea of a much wider tub to be able to kind of load inside a tub, etc. Some use smaller tins. Those people tend to get a little bit of flack for the size of the tins they have. I actually, both Heather and myself did something for this. We posted one of those kind of like question stories on Instagram asking people if they care about packaging, and if so, what are the most important things. We were massively surprised at the amount of people that really do care about the packaging of a soap, even. More so from the aspect of, I think a lot of people like to load from inside a tub. I'm a tub loader, but I'm of the opinion that if it was to change and the kind of like the format of a soap became different, for example, I could adapt and I could figure it out from there. But I'm asking you this mainly because with the upcoming release of Sovereign, you guys have considered changing the way you guys do the packaging, haven't you?
We have, yeah, and we intend to release it in roughly a 60-gram format, packaged in a recyclable cardboard box, which is a real step change from, you know, the norm in the marketplace. And it might cause us problems, you know, but we'll see. We'll give it a go. But the environment is extremely important to us, you know, to all of us.
Are you looking at like basically switching from doing containers to doing like pucks?
Yes. So
That's what you're saying?
we're looking to do away with our plastic tubs for Sovereign. And in time, the original formula. We're not too sure yet, really, what we're going to do with the original formula, if we're going to phase it out or not. We haven't made our minds up. And if we'll solely focus on Sovereign and in time introduce the sense of the original formula into the Sovereign line so people don't miss out on Spitfire and such like. But yeah, you know, I like to tub load, you know, and then face lather. But in all of the testing that I've done since day one, I've always had the soap with me, broken a piece off, and I've popped it into a bowl of some sort, of ceramic bowl of some sort, you know, because I haven't put it into a plastic tub. So I think we're creatures of habit, you know, and I think people will just will adapt. It's not overly difficult, you know. We are creatures of habit, and I accept that. We'll see how it goes, but we intend to persevere with it. You know, obviously, if sales are really bad and people just not going to buy this because it's in a cardboard box and I can't tub load, then you know that could be problematic. But we'll review it and just we'll see how we go and adjust things.
Could the approach be you offer the plastic, well, you offer the cardboard box by standard, but you also offer a way to transfer that to a tub? There's a vendor in the US. Her name is Mystic Waters. She primarily does pucks, pretty much exactly like that. The pucks, if you don't buy the tubs, they pretty much just come in like this, pretty much just like cling film, pretty much, or plastic wrap, as the Americans would call it. Once you're done, once you've opened it, it's pretty much open. You can shove it in a shaving bowl. You can lather it in the hand. You can use it like a shaving stick and rub it on your face. Could there be a potential option to say we offer just standalone tubs you can purchase if you're not happy with the cardboard box format? Because that could be something to think about there. For me, I look at the switch to cardboard as actually a drastic step forward. I think although a lot of people will reuse those plastic tubs for soap, I still think using the plastic isn't particularly needed anyway. Um,
Mm.
like you said, humans are creatures of habits. If they have to kind of get their soap in puck form and put it in some sort of bowl and cover it back up to then put it back in the cardboard box, I think my only concern would be how do you store that soap in such a way where you can keep the scent um, as good as it possibly would be? Because what I found, if you have a puck and you leave it out for a long period of time, the scent tends to wear away a little bit after a while.
Mm. Yeah, it's a good point. I think there's two ways to look at that. I think the first is when it comes to preservation of your soap. So, if we are tub loading, then we're obviously introducing water into the soap, and that can be, in the long term, that can potentially be problematic because you're introducing, if you don't look after your soap properly, then you're introducing bacteria into that environment, and consequently the soap could turn potentially. Whereas if you go the other way and you either scoop out, some shavers scoop out a small piece of soap from the tub, place that into a bowl, or use one of our sovereign soaps and break a piece off, same difference I suppose, and then place that in the bowl, then you're taking more efficient steps in preserving the soap. It's longevity. Preserving the scent, the boxes that they'll be packaged in are going to be bathroom friendly, water resistant, but still recyclable. So long as you're leaving the soap inside the box, degradation of scent, it shouldn't be significantly more than compared to being in a tub with its lid sealed. I accept that it probably will degrade slightly more quickly because oxygen is going to get in more effectively. But I think the balance of between the bacteria argument versus a dry soap left in a box, in a sealed box in your bathroom, I think it kind of balances out fairly effectively. I'd rather go for something which lasts longer than losing a fraction, a degree of the scent. But that's my own personal preference.
That's fair. That is fair.
Yeah, I think that one thing with that is it will tend to smell less if you're just smelling the puck. But once you break a piece off or cut into it or whatever you're doing, you're going to notice it more because it does kind of fade from the outside in. So it takes a long time for the denser part of the soap and that's the same with like a bar, like bath soap, right? So
absolutely.
If you haven't used it for a while, and like we have a guest bathroom downstairs, and so we have a bar soap at the sink, and sometimes it's not real noticeable, but as soon as you wash your hands with it, you can smell it again. So it's kind of the same thing. It kind of like the outside of it will tend to fade a little bit more, but you'll still have, it would be hard for it to lose its scent throughout the entire puck.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think so.
So what do you think about this, Heather? So let's say from a soap maker's perspective, if the industry kind of pushed towards kind of pushing you in the format of not selling stuff in tubs, how do you think that would work for your business out of interest?
I mean, I've considered it. I would have to reformulate my soap just a little bit and make some changes because my soap is just too soft to do a puck. Yeah, I do that because of processing it. I do it by myself, and I'm doing significant amounts at once, and so it's just easier for me manufacturing wise. So I've kind of tweaked it to where hopefully it's a good balance between not being too terribly soft, but it's easy for me on the production end to get them knocked out easier without stressing my hands and doing 100 scoops basically at a time. So I don't know. I have two views of it. I personally am not too worried about the bacterial contamination as long as people are letting them dry. That's the thing. Hopefully in between, because of the pH of the soap for most soaps is going to help with that. Not to say it's 100%, but it's just naturally gonna be, assist with that. However, I feel like most hobbyists I didn't choose to do that because I feel like most hobbyists versus like a daily shaver, they want to cycle through them, and I was worried about storage myself. But I do think eventually something will have to change. I do use recyclable plastic and hope that people do recycle them instead of throwing them away. So um, I don't know. It's just for me, I was really worried the hobbyist side of it, but there's other people who have done it. Olio just recently released
Yeah.
a bar of shave soap that is cut like a bar soap. And she released that as well. And I think Peter with A&E did, isn't face spackle? No, face spackle's a
Yeah, face
cream. I
spackles
feel
are a
like he
soap.
just did, I feel like he just did one that was in a box though.
No, I don't think you did. You might be thinking of the slick stick, but that's like
Maybe.
like how deodorant comes in that kind of like roll-on format. He kind of did it similar to that.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. And there's definitely people, especially people who are, um, there's a movement. It's kind of its own niche right now, but there's definitely like a zero waste movement too. So it kind of opens you up for a whole new, um, like
I
demographic of
think so.
people to advertise to as well.
Mm,
So,
It's
absolutely. Yeah.
it's an interesting thing. I think a lot of it comes to the fact that if you worry about storage, my argument would be if they're robust, kind of like cardboard boxes you're storing them in, I don't see them not being easily stackable. Probably not as easily as like an actual tub of soap per se, but
mhm.
I don't know. There's a big part of my mind that, and you can call this controversial as you want. I I don't really care how people are using their soap. I think the environment's more important. Um, I feel like there needs to be something done based around that. We use so many single-use plastics. And I know a lot of people
Mm.
say that they are actually recyclable. I can tell you that the city I live in the US, we don't recycle plastic. Um, if I'm done with those, I'm either using them for another application or I'm throwing them away. And I think a step in that direction for me is positive. I also assume, Kerry, that with that kind of bar format or that cardboard box format, you're decreasing the overall volume of soap as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's going to be reduced from, roughly 115 grams down to approximately 50 to 60 grams is where we're at the moment. We're just finalizing.
Oh,
Um, yeah, a lot smaller.
wow.
And will that
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
difference in cost?
Oh, yeah, of course it
I
will.
know
Yeah,
someone,
significantly
and I know
cheaper.
someone who will love you, by the way, for
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah. Good old DK.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting thing. I think coming from the consumer perspective, if you're thinking about like for me when I'm buying soap, I'm not one of those people that care about packaging until I think the packaging has been considered. So
Mm.
that's very much my take on it. So if I'm buying a soap and frankly the label is blank, it doesn't bother me so much. If the packaging is
Mm.
minimalist, it also doesn't bother me too
Mm.
much. But I think there needs to be value put into people that take a lot of effort in packaging their stuff, designing the labels, etc. Very much like you guys at Phoenix and Beau. I think although I don't strictly care about packaging, I feel I need to if I'm going to embrace your product because there's been so much thought put into that.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm with you on that. As I mentioned earlier, we shop with our eyes, and I I'm a real stickler for packaging. I'm kind of the opposite, really. I have to be drawn with the eye initially, and then from there, I pick the item up if I can. If I'm in a shop,
Yeah,
and it has to feel, of good
yeah,
quality. So the cardboard box, it won't be some flimsy old crap. It's it's good. It's high grade um, cardboard, and looks and feels great. So all of the touch points, with our eyes, with our fingers, have to be, top drawer,
how will the
and that's
labels
kind of
work? Will you get them printed directly to each box?
printed,
Yeah,
printed.
that's really cool. I look
Mm,
forward to seeing how that works.
mm. Yeah, Yeah, so are we. So we'll see. We'll see how it
How
goes.
far out do you think
Yeah,
that is at the moment?
oh man, that's a tough one. Just simply because we're in lockdown and we're
Yeah.
homeschooling our kids. I've started a new job, and Sarah does everything on her own, more or less, in the context of Phoenix and Beau. I help out here and there at times of real sort of significant demand, and I help out a bit with social media. And when I find the time to do the odd YouTube video, and that's about as much as I can help her outside of the dreaming up ideas. She does everything else. She's an absolute trooper. So, but to answer your question, I would sincerely hope spring. That's the best I can do this at some point in this spring.
Wow.
So, what is her background? I know you said that she does all the design work. Is she like a designer, like trained, like day job, or what is she?
Yeah, Sarah's background. She's a qualified architectural illustrator.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah. So so she but buildings, but she's very, very creative.
right.
She can draw, freehand really, really well, but she knows how to manipulate various types of software, which I just look at and I'm like, no idea what you're doing there,
Yeah,
because she gets really annoyed with me because I'll say to her, I'll stand over her shoulder, I'm like, oh yeah, that bit there, can you just, make that a bit bigger, or she's like that. You have no idea how difficult that is, because it's coming from my imagination. I'm like, yeah, it's easy, I can see it, and she's like, you're a maniac, leave me alone, and come back tomorrow, and I might have it done. And invariably she does.
Having that's an asset, man. Having someone there to
well,
do that sort of like that level
yeah.
of label design, because um
Yeah, of
to pay
course.
for that here, that's
Oh
that's
man.
costing you a bit of money. Like,
Oh yeah. That is a lot of wedge, isn't it? Because you see, I've noticed, some of the other soap makers have really upped their game with their labels, which I commend, and I really enjoy the artwork. But I would imagine that comes at a significant cost,
yeah,
Yes.
and mercifully, I don't have to consider that
yeah.
cost. I pay Sarah in tea and hugs. That's
Yeah.
about
Tea's
it.
good currency,
You
man.
know, tea is good, mate. Tea's good.
I, I need to find a designer I can pay in tea. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. So let me ask you this. What would you say if you have to pick your top one and your top three labels besides your own in the
Great
industry?
question.
What do you have?
Mm, crikey. My top label. Ooh,
It's difficult.
it is really hard. There's so many good ones nowadays. I've always been, when I started out in this game, I was massively inspired, and still am to this day, by Will,
Yeah.
Barrister and Man,
Mhm.
and I've always enjoyed his approach, his artwork, his imagination, because I think Will and I are a little bit similar in as much as we're Douglas Adams fans. Douglas Adams wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the
Yeah.
Galaxy, which I know inspires a lot of Will's soaps, 42, for example.
That's one of
Um,
my favorites.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, 42 is definitely up there. I'm also a big fan of Tallow and Steel. I like the feel and
Premium.
that sort of that consistent theme that runs throughout their
Yeah.
artwork. I really enjoy that. And just for kind of cheekiness, and it does make me laugh, I suppose, but not in a mocking or a negative way. Is Noble Otter. I love their artwork.
Yeah.
Just really, just really cool. Really
Mhm.
cool
It's
artwork.
very thought provocative, isn't it, Noble Otter's artwork?
It is.
Because there's almost a
Yeah,
story tangled into how the
yeah,
otter looks. It's just so unique.
yeah, 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 yeah. It really is. So I would say those three companies, but to give you, I would say, because I'm a Douglas Adams fan, I would say 42.
That's a good choice.
Nice.
Mm.
Yeah. What are yours, Jack?
Cool. My absolute favorite label design is um, Imperial Run by Phoenix and Beau. I think the amount of if you look at it from an angle, that thing just screams at you because of the kind of reflection back. Uh, The second would be Tallow and Still. Actually, it would be Maya by Tallow and Still. Those deep greens with the deep blacks. They're very punchy and very attractive. And my third, oh, that's difficult. Oh God, I have to really think about that. To be honest, it is probably no plotter, um, but it would be between them and potentially, not probably between Noble Otter and Barrister and Man. I think Barrister and Man have made some remarkable labels over the past few years, but it would be a toss up between those. So, um, Imperial Rum I think is my favorite. Second is Maya, and then something Noble Otter, which probably be Orbit from Noble Otter. I think that's so cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is really cool.
And then from Barrister and Man, I actually like the label of Leviathan. Nobody else does. Um, I know what he was thinking there, but he's done Fougère Gothique has a remarkable label. The
Yeah,
original
that was
Fougère
cool.
Gothique, which was almost like lasered onto the tub, so there was no sticker there. That was incredibly cool. Fougère Angelique as well. He's done some remarkable stuff, but it was between those. What about you, Heather?
So Noble Otter Orbit is 100% my
Yeah.
favorite. The Imperial Rum. So it's kind of funny because as you guys were talking, I'm like, we're basically on the same. The Imperial Rum label is one of my favorites.
Well, thank
Uh,
you.
42 is also my favorite. Actually, one of my friends, JR, every time somebody would post it or he would post it, I was always like, this gives me label envy. I love this. Something about it. It's just so fun and so different. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not necessarily like, I don't know. I just love it. But so JR actually sent it to me. He was like, here, you like it so much. Here, this is something for you. But I do also like the two, the Angelique
Yeah,
and the
they're
Gothic
remarkable.
that he just did. They're very cool labels. So those are also my favorites. But yeah, Noble Otter he Orbit is just like hands down probably like my favorite top label, I
I think
think.
the trend there is people like thought provocative packaging, right? Because when,
Mhm.
like I said originally, when I look at a Phoenix and Beau label, I'm thinking, okay, what was his intention behind this? Same as something like Noble Otter, same as a lot of Barrister and Man labels. There's obviously an idea that's gone behind there, and I think that in
Mm.
itself is really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to topic two here. So, it's no secret, you are based in the UK, Kerry.
We are.
There's,
Yep.
I don't, so I started shaving more so this way when I moved here. When I was over there, I was fast shaving, as you call it. Um,
Mm.
the way I would describe it is, from my perspective, in terms of just general product availability, it's much, much less over there. Am I right?
Sorry, as in what? How often our products are available, or just general
Just general.
within
So
the
like,
industry?
if you think of like artisanal products, there are British artisans
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
Wickham, and there's a few more that have come up more recently. Oatcake
Oh,
soaps.
yeah, yeah. It's tiny, really, compared to what what you have to compete with, Heather. Over in the US, yeah, there's Phoenix and Beau, there's Wickham soaps, there is Oatcake, there was OSP, but I think James is gone now. And is it NSS, Nanny's Signature
They're
Soaps? Is
gone.
that UK?
I think they're gone. Yeah,
Right,
it's
gone.
crazy.
Yeah, and that's it. And outside of that, people just seem to buy loads of old shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, well, I won't name them just in case they sue my ass. But
I can name them. Tobbs isn't very
just,
good.
just,
Like
oh
just the
man,
classics,
yeah,
basically.
just absolute garbage. It's like, who would use this crap, But yeah, but people do, and a lot of people do, don't they? So it's like, no, just try any of, try ours, try Heather's, try any decent soap, and you'll be amazed. Um, So yeah, to come back to your question, Jack, yeah, it's a very small market over here in terms of competition, but we like it that way
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
obvious reasons, right? Yeah,
How?
it's
Yeah,
good.
here it feels like there's a new artisan every,
I
few
know.
weeks. There's someone new that's
Yeah,
popping up, or that's, talking about starting a soap company and things like that. So,
yeah.
um, I don't know. I think sometimes people think it's easy and it's a lot more work than, it
I
appears to
also
be.
think
Yeah.
starting business in the UK is much more difficult than it is here because there are people that have made soaps in the US that you wouldn't plug them as a business owner. Like you wouldn't think that guy has thought about starting a business. Frankly, what he's done is it's actually way less work than you would be to start like a proper business over there. And I think
Mm,
a lot of that creates a lot of competition over here. Um,
mm,
the the artisan circle as well is quite tight over here, I would say. I think a lot of people know each other. A lot of people are regularly dealing
mm.
with each other, often asking kind of like questions between one another. I don't think the UK is like
Hmm.
that at all, is it? I think you guys are fairly separated.
We are, however, I have had Darren from
Yeah.
Wickham's get in touch with me, and also I forget his name, unfortunately, but the owner of Oatcake, um, just picking my brain really from a business perspective, and I've shared my kind of my experience with them and offered my guidance, and so no, they have reached out and we've discussed things.
That's cool. I like to see
Mm,
that collaborative effort. There's quite
mm,
a lot of that going on over here. A question I actually have to
mm.
ask:
Hmm.
how long have you guys been vending in the US, Phoenix and Beau?
Oh, well, we kind of as a double-edged sword. We got lucky when we first set out when we were the new kid on the block back in 16, which I had a massive sad on when we were no longer the new kid on the block because that, as you say, had it kind of feels as though every or very frequently, someone new pops up and then that's it. You're kind of you're out of the limelight. But no, it was in 2016, and I was just quite forwards. I got in touch with Brad from
Yeah.
Magards and just said, hey, we knew this is us. Would you be interested? And he came back to me and he said, yeah, this is the order, which kind of blew our
Yeah,
minds.
Brad.
We were like, shit, how are we going to make that much soap? And because we had zero
Yeah.
experience. And we made a couple of errors, and there were some initial teething problems with the formula, and it was simply down to not letting it cure long enough. But we learned that lesson the hard way, and unfortunately, we lost Brad as a stockist, but we from that we gained really valuable lessons. Don't rush into it. You know,
Don't
um,
rush.
make
Yes.
sure you understand your craft properly before you go to somebody, a significant player in a market. So yeah, some really valuable and healthy lessons that we had there. But so 2016, to answer your question.
And you've been selling in the US, selling well via other vendors in the US ever since, or did you take like a step back after that and decided to come back at a later date?
Exactly that. Yeah, we kind of we regrouped and just focused on UK, Europe,
It's a good idea.
European markets. Yeah, and then we reapproached North America, and we went to Carmine, who's just an absolute gentleman to deal
I love
with.
Carmine.
Yeah,
You
yes.
know, yeah, he's so nice and friendly. And um, oh, what's the chap in Chicago?
Is it?
Oh,
Oh,
it's
Q Brothers?
hold on. No,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no. It is
No. Oh, Geo.
Merchant and Rhodes.
I've never heard of them.
I
Merchant
haven't
and
either.
Rhodes are, yeah, they're based in Chicago.
Okay,
Really real old school barbershop, really famous
Oh,
that's really
barbershop
cool.
in Chicago. So yeah, so Merchant and Rhodes, I've got a list here, pastors, pharmacy. Although we've kind of lost contact with Leon. I've tried a few times, but we haven't kind of resumed service there. But it was good to get into the shop, and by all accounts, hearing you, Jack, say that there are still some of our soaps in there, that's a good thing. So we're still on display, and then the Razor Company and West Coast Shaving
West Coast was
Company
the big
also.
one, wasn't it? Because I think West Coast are alongside Magards is the biggest kind of like retailer over here. And I remember
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I would call that like a big breakthrough in the American market for you guys, but like being able to stock both splashes, soaps,
Yeah.
aftershaves. I mean, I remember kind of from my perspective as a US customer trying to buy your stuff and really wanting the matching splashes to go with it, comparing to
Yeah.
now them being offered by West Coast Shaving, it's a huge thing. And I imagine that a lot more people have been
Uh,
exposed to your stuff because of that.
yeah. Oh yeah, completely. Yeah, it's a game changer. And we've benefited from it. So it's been a good relationship for sure. And the same for all of them. But West Coast, they're a big player, and yeah, we're very grateful for their business. You know,
Cool.
so yeah.
So
So what?
carry on with
Go
Heather.
ahead.
No, you by all means.
So what would you say that you notice other than the availability of like variety of artisans, I guess, in the UK? What would you say you feel like is the number one difference between the US and the UK, like market or customer like expectations?
That's a good question. Customer expectations, the difference between UK. I think I think for me it would be scent strength. It seems to be a real sticking point.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of the feedback that I've had, and we don't tout ourselves as uber powered scent strength soaps. Some of them are fairly strong, but and that's deliberate on our part. We don't like to go for like really, really almost sort of cologne
Same as
strength,
Heather.
scent
Mm-hmm.
strength, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest difference. But people kind of know that of us now, and it's less of a problem.
Yeah, I feel like once they know that and that expectation is there, then people are aware. And if they are someone who wants to be knocked over by the scent when they open up the tub, they know
Mm.
I'm probably not the person for them.
Mm. Oh yeah.
Um, yeah. So do you think, are you saying you think that the US market wants a stronger scent or the UK?
The US market, in my
Yeah.
experience, our customers in the early days they would be like, oh, we love your soap, but I'd just like it to be a few notches stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They
Whereas
always
we,
want it
we, we
stronger.
yeah, but we don't generally get that feedback from our UK or European
Why do
customers.
you think that is? It's interesting, isn't it?
Mm,
Because
it is, yeah.
when I think of US artisans, quite honestly, like if I think of the big players, Will from Barrister and Mann doesn't scent his soap too high. Holy Cow don't scent his soap too high. Same as Noble Otter.
Mm,
Same
mm,
as Heather Declaration. None of them particularly scent their stuff too high.
mm.
It's interesting.
Who knows, man? Yeah, I'm not too certain. I'm not too certain.
What do you think performance
What do you think, Heather?
expectations are actually? Because I think that's definitely another aspect, isn't it? I think there are like we discussed kind of earlier on in this topic. There are there's less competition, um, and because of that, the kind of performance expectations in the US are it's very competitive. I mean, we don't make soap, but even looking at it from the outside, it's crazy.
Well, yeah, it really is. The expectation around performance. Yeah, here it's very high, but in the US, yeah, it seems to be extremely high. But I've tried a lot of the leading lights from the US market, and there's such a fine line
Yeah,
really between those top soaps.
Mm-hmm.
I think to say this one is better than that, I think it's extremely
it is.
difficult. And yeah, I think it's a tricky business. Those the tier one soaps, they're all awesome. And I think a factor will be the person's skin type. The equipment their hardware that they're using,
Mm-hmm.
their technique perhaps. So, but yeah, I think it's very difficult to separate those top tier one soaps.
Yeah,
Yeah, and here we have so many artisans that, like I said, are coming out. I feel like we're constantly. I don't really like to change my base. I mean, the Sago base is it's just a tallow for me. It's my first tallow. I was vegan
Mm,
before, but I don't like to consistently change things, because then I feel like it's unfair to like your customers and your retailers, and you know, it's not as simple as just I made a new
How many
base, which is
test
great,
batches
but
did you do for Sago again?
27. So, you know, it's time consuming to change also, obviously, but you know, we are probably maybe more pressured to like do the best we can, or to maybe always try to, like, I don't want to say one up, but it sort of is that way. You know, like, I'm happy where I am as far as my product performance goes in the market, but I think that it's definitely, the pressure is on because we have so much competition here. Do you think that, I mean, obviously every maker wants to put out what they feel like is the best product they can. Nobody is like, it's okay. Let's, you know, I feel like there's very few people that are like, it's good enough, whatever, without, you know, feeling like they're truly putting out a better product or the best that they can anyway. Do you feel like, since there's maybe just, you know, a handful of artisans, that like, obviously you want to perform, but maybe you're not as pressured to compete with like the US market? Because I assume there's probably not main people that carry a lot of the US. I mean, I know I personally ship to the UK, but I don't have any retailers over there per se. So it's not as easy for people. It's obviously more expensive for them to get my product, basically. So do you feel like you have a little bit less like pressure to constantly like upgrade or compete, since there's just a handful of you?
Well, I think it's a great question to begin with. I think for all of us, you know, US, UK, Europe, if you want to stay, you know, profitable, then you've got to keep moving. You've got to keep evolving and staying in front of customers, haven't you? You know, and how do you do that? You know, and we've chosen to do that mainly through our artwork. You know, our formula hasn't changed since launch in 2016.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but with that said, we are releasing 2 new formulas soon.
What made you,
but no,
sorry to interrupt, but what made you feel that Sovereign was necessary? Like, did you feel that the previous base was getting outdated compared to the rest of the market, or did you feel it's just time for a change?
The latter. It was the latter, and I was inspired by what's been going on over in the US. You know, and I enjoyed. I like a new product as much as the next person does, and and I just thought, well, how can I make our original formula better? And went to work on it, you know, and it was just a fresh challenge. How can I improve it? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here it seemed like in the last like 6 months, it was the race for the base.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it just, I feel like, you know, everybody, I mean, like I said, it was a new one for me, but I feel like the timing fell in with like all these others who, you know, were improving and re-releasing and things like that. So it's interesting. And as a creative, like you want to always tinker. As, you know, as a business person, you sometimes have to rein that in, because it's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily make sense to keep tinkering with things. You know, at some point you do have to like shut it down, or like, you know, kind of put it on pause for a little bit. So, yeah. Would you say, as far as like going back to fragrance, other than the scent strength, do you notice a difference in like popularity of your scents in the UK versus in the US market? I know whenever we spoke with Will, this, you know, like how scents are interpreted in the US versus everywhere else basically is definitely different, you know, where a lot of other places will, you know, men are more comfortable wearing florals, or more unisex scents, to where in the US there are people who obviously say, for example, some men do like florals, but I think the trend is just starting over here a little bit more to get into that unisex type, to where men, you know, but traditionally here in the US, men want these like masculine scents, and they want women to have like the feminine scents, to where I think they're starting to converge a little bit more into this unisex realm. But do you notice a difference in what sells better, like in one country, you know, versus the other?
The quick answer is that isn't a study that I've done, to be honest with you. Um, in terms of our best sellers, I think really they seem to be governed by the artwork. When we really kind of hit upon a stonking design, then they seem to sell better than quieter designs. Um, and I'm not suggesting that scent is unimportant, because it's not. It's a huge part of the experience, monumental part of the experience. But no, it's not a study I've done, Heather. I enjoy wearing floral scents. I really enjoy lavender.
Me too.
Um, and citrus scents, and I'm very comfortable wearing that. And I like fresh marine ozonic scents and quite light scents. And if you ask my wife, she'll tell you that she's always shouting at me because I'm nicking her deodorant from my armpits. And but I'm comfortable with that. So yeah, it's not really something that I've studied in too much detail, to be honest with you.
How did
Uh,
Achilles' Last Stand sell over here?
yeah, very well.
Do you think that's predominantly down
Yeah,
to the fact that the artwork is incredible? Because
I think so.
from our
Yeah,
perspective, now kind of like you, I'm obviously English. Probably everyone's noticed that by now. But as far as
Yeah, I'm the odd man out here with that. I feel like out of place without an accent.
as far as kind of like scent interpretation go, I have a lot of American friends within this kind of like wet shaving hobby. I am the guy that tends to like florals. I love floral scents. I found that more common amongst the UK market. The willingness
yeah.
to embrace florals. The US, they want boozy, they want tobacco, they want everything Ariana and Evans makes. Like he makes the
Mm,
archetypal American scent, basically. When you kind of go to that more floral aspect, like Heather recently did it with number one. It's a rose oud blend, pretty much, isn't it? And
Yes.
lovely.
we
Yeah.
class that as a risk here. I'd say
Yeah.
you would in the UK. I think
It was a big risk.
like Wickham's. I think one of Wickham's highest scented soaps is that rose scent he has. It's a completely different kind of like level of acceptance when it comes to those different fragrances. Like for me, rose is a
Mm,
hit, and probably for you the same, Kerry, but not quite the case over
yeah.
here.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So yeah, Achilles sold very well, and I think it was really based on the design, because just reminding myself of the profile. So algarwood, rose, amber, patchouli, saffron, couple of kisses from
Okay.
raspberry and pear, orange blossom, touch of musk. Most people can understand what rose smells like, or raspberry, but amber, algarwood, saffron. So I think people will read the description and think that sounds
Yeah.
interesting. You know, I'm gonna, I'm intrigued by that, and oh, look at the label. That's pretty awesome. Right. Okay. So let's give that a go. And yeah, I think it sold well because of it was a safe, intriguing scent profile, backed up by a pretty epic psychedelic design, which I think I'm going to have to get printed and framed and put up on my wall.
Yeah, I would.
Sorry to go on about it, but
I've been looking.
yeah, I'm looking at it now and just
Yeah.
just reminding myself.
I've been looking at
Yeah,
your kind of website, and you often sell the artwork to your soaps.
yeah, we
Oh,
So
do.
cool.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, just for shaved ends, if customers want to, frame and just have something up on their bathroom wall, or if they're lucky to have their own dedicated shaved end where their partner won't say, you're not putting that up on the wall. But hopefully that they can.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can.
It's funny because I would say kind of rose, lavender, violet is another one. Kind of more floral scents are more accepted
Mm,
in Europe, especially the UK.
mm,
Like we have definitely a bit of an emphasis on creating floral scents, and even men pretty much across the board
mm,
accept that. And like I said, like here, if you're to release a rose scent for men, you're taking a really big
mm,
risk. Um,
okay.
it's so interesting. Like you recently released number one, Heather, and that was rose inspired. Do you think the sales for
Yeah.
that were kind of pushed more to the fact that it was a premium offering, or because people like rose?
Well, I don't know. I mean, my testers kind of told me that I was crazy because this was going to be the first release in basically a luxurious line. Um, Carrie, if you're not familiar, basically I wanted to start a line that was made by, the scents were made by artisan perfumers, not myself or someone else. So they are, this one was a one of a kind that was made by Byron Parfums out of France. And I really liked the scent. I got several samples from him. And now keep in mind, when I say it was a luxury line, it was a luxury line because of the fragrance. The fragrance was, significantly, actually, I broke it down recently. It was 16 times more the cost than my normal fragrance,
Wow.
if that tells you anything. So it was going to be a higher priced item. My soaps normally sell for $20 to $22, $23 mostly. This was 35.
Yeah.
So it was a big jump in price, but the first scent that I went with was a rose, and it was rose oud, sandalwood, patchouli,
Mm.
vanilla.
Sounds
So
good.
yeah, it's a really well balanced, like sophisticated rose. It's not
Mm.
like a florally. I say florally. It's not that sweet floral. Or I like to say
It's
old
quite
lady
dark.
rose. It's not that powdery. Yeah, it's kind of a darker rose, but I was really, I mean, it was kind of a big deal. Like for me to launch a, soap that was going to be costing 12, 13, $15 more than my other soaps in a rose. It was definitely pricier of a risk, but I'm not really sure. I think that people who like rose, I mean, there are people who like rose. Noble Otter has two kings, and that is a rose oud.
Cavalry though, like
Um,
I don't get. It's not like number one or Achilles' Last Stand rose to me. Like for me, they are predominantly rose forward to my nose. I think Two Kings, my immediate kind of like impressions sniffing off of the tub are powder. I don't get that really
oh,
strong floral. The strong floral from the people that I know within the industry actually puts them off a little bit. Like I said, I really enjoy it. Like Barrister and Mann did a exclusive for top of the chain called Sarian, and that is pretty much just an accord of florals. Uh,
Mm.
I don't quite know how that's sold up there, but I absolutely love it. I just don't think that would sell well here.
Mm.
yeah. I think that people here they're okay with florals if they are a supporting
Yeah,
note versus like a primary note. And that's what I was really worried about
Mm.
because I mean, number one is
rose.
rose.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
But I don't know. And maybe it was because it was a new line and it was made by an artisan perfumer. Like maybe it maybe wouldn't have went as well as it
Yeah.
did if I would have made it because it wouldn't have had some extra excitement behind it, I guess, so to
Sure.
speak. But yeah,
How
I
did
definitely go ahead.
how did it go for you? Did it go okay?
It did, and I was very nervous because I'd worked on this since like September, October of last year, and I just released it a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
Oh, brilliant. Well, I commend your bravery.
yeah, I mean, like the worst, it's kind of like asking somebody and you're not sure if they're going to say yes. The worst they could do is say no, right? So, I mean, the worst I was going to do is it wasn't going to sell, which would suck, obviously, but kind of like you don't know if you don't try it. So I just
Yeah.
went with it.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. I think perhaps I'll play more heavily with looking at that type of scent. You've inspired me because I've just made a note here. The two exclusives that we do an exclusive soap for West Coast Shaving, which is called the Specialist. That is a cognac tobacco based type scent.
yeah.
Okay, and the razor company we do an exclusive for them also called Collider, and that's Kerry getting his own way and making a predominantly cedarwood heavy soap. There's more things going on in the background, but yeah, it's your kind of typical woodsy scent, So yeah, I think I need to be a bit more ballsy really, and push it a bit more. So yeah, you've
There's
inspired me.
something for everybody. It's just finding who wants it, right? That's
Mm.
how I look at it.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
I would be interested if you ever run your numbers to look at your percentages of sales for your scents in the US versus, you know, everywhere else. I would be interested in seeing if there's a difference in
Yeah,
the scents, especially with the florals, because I do feel like it's not typically as common here in the US.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'll definitely run those numbers. Definitely.
Cool. I think we're kind of getting up to the time we would kind of bookend the podcast. Generally, when we
Hmm.
finish, we see if our guests have plugs. Do you have any plugs for Phoenix and Beau, Kerry?
I think I've probably mentioned Sovereign enough. I could maybe just spend a moment,
Yeah, absolutely.
perhaps exploring that, but I don't really need to labour the point. Um, but yeah, with those four names of this year's limiteds, I'm very excited about just the names alone, let alone uh, whatever the artwork looks like from Sarah. But yes, Sovereign has been in the pipeline for ages now, and the vegan even longer. And they've just been it's been really aggravating, and I've stopped saying really, oh, we're going to release it by this point, because with the vegan, it's been ready for ages, but you know, family and children have this horrible habit of taking up all of your time.
Yeah.
Uh, pesky things. So yeah, that's really the reason why we haven't. But yeah, we're very vegan's good to go. We know what that looks like. We know what the flavors are. They've got all their names, and it's the same for Sovereign. We're just finalising the packaging, but perhaps I should save that for when we kind of you want to use that bit of audio.
Okay. So let's. Heather, you have loads of plugs, I think. So.
I do. This week I do have several.
Shameful plugging.
I know. This week I do have several. I don't always, but so I have the new projects that are coming out for the
Hide your
tribe
face.
soaps.
Can you,
So put it.
can you move it to your left a little
Yeah.
bit? I couldn't see it. No. And towards the
Um,
camera.
I'll have to send it to you
So
off
basically,
camera
what's happening
so you can
is
see
it's
it.
tracking your face.
But
There we go. That's a bit better.
Ah, awesome. Yeah, I love it.
so I have, these are tribe soaps. These are actually fundraisers, and they will release to the tribe early in the week, actually, probably Monday. And then they will be open to the public the following weekend. The Healers is actually a fundraiser. This is going to be going to a medical charity, probably Samaritan's Purse, to help with the COVID. I mean, they're kind of worldwide, actually. They're here in New York as well, but they have efforts for, treatment worldwide. And then I have the one for the essentials, and this is kind of a thank you and a shout out to like the other first line workers who are, helping keep us fed and gas in our cars and things like that are outside the healthcare industry. Those also do have like the matching balms as well. And then I have a new, this is a tallow, it's a sago version of a heavy hand cream and body lotion for dry skin. And then I have hand sanitizer, and this is not even on the website yet. And this is not something I make, it's something I was able to actually get in. And sanitizer is not something I normally sell, but because nobody has it, I had a chance to get it, so I jumped on it, so that hopefully everybody can, if they're having problems finding some, it'll be an option for them. So that'll also be on the website Monday.
Cool. Carve based then. We have our titanium Christopher Bradley coming out on May 1st.
Oh, lovely.
We have
May
started.
1st,
Yeah,
for sure.
it's cemented. We've started producing stock for the titanium Christopher Bradley. The options are pretty standard. We're somewhat reluctant to do kind of like the higher end plates, like the Fs and the Gs off of the bat, because titanium is expensive, and producing plates that are going to sit there for weeks and weeks and not get sold isn't really something we're looking forward. So we'll probably take kind of pre-orders for Gs and Fs. All handle lengths will be available from the get-go, and both top cap variations will also be available. Yeah, May 1st, be square.
Awesome.
Cool. I appreciate you joining us today, Kerry. I've enjoyed speaking to you personally over the last few weeks with the testing of Sovereign and stuff like that, and I look forward to seeing the final product once it's released. I think
Yeah.
you've done
Thanks,
fantastic
mate.
work with that. Yeah, thank you for joining, and we'll catch you all next
Yeah.
time.
Brilliant.
Have a good one.
Thanks, folks. Stay safe.